Welcome to Women Being Loved, a weekly podcast and upcoming book series to help you and other women 35 and beyond attract deep, passionate, lasting love while honoring your authentic self. I'm Todra, your host. In last week's episode, we talked about women making the first move with men, and I shared a small part of a beautiful story from Tanya, a woman from Australia, who is part of my wife's collective. If you missed that episode, please check it out. At the end of that episode, I promised you I would share a story from the perspective of a man doing the pursuing. And seriously, doing the pursuing. Because love can find us in all different ways. Without a lot of commentary, I want to jump into this fun story of how two people who are very much in love met and connected. As I said last week, if you'd like to grab a coffee or a tea, sit back while I read, stop the audio now and set that up. Carol was 43 when she met Gino. They live in North Carolina, and this is their story. I was working late one evening and decided to grab a coffee before heading home. I popped into the Starbucks just down the street. Getting to the counter, I placed my order, then stepped aside. It was crowded and noisy. This particular location was on a college campus, and I was looking forward to getting my caffeine treat and heading home. After a few minutes, I noticed the barista was calling the names of people who had ordered after me, while I was still waiting. That's odd. I didn't say anything. I thought I'd just wait and see if maybe I'd be next. A gentleman who I'd seen in line a few spaces behind me stepped up to the counter and said, "Ma'am, she," referring to me, "ordered a venti caramel macchiato soy at 150 degrees. She has not received it." Whoa. The barista was flustered and apologetic. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'll bring it out to you. Where will you be sitting?" Gino, the man who remembered every single detail of my coffee order, put his hand in the small of my back and said, "She will be sitting with me." I looked at his left hand, no ring, no indentation. I looked at his shoes, leather loafers. I said, "I'll be sitting with him." In this crazy, crowded Starbucks, there were 2 available chairs at the same table. I often say it was divine intervention. We claimed the seats and sat down. Our conversation was so comfortable and easy, like we'd already known each other. Our coffees arrived and we continued to talk. It was obvious this man had a serious, direct, take charge demeanor, but not in a scary way. It was in a seasoned way. He was mature and knew what to do. I liked that. We continued to talk about our kids, our work, our likes and dislikes. I can't even remember all of what we said at this point because we covered so much. A Starbucks employee came to the table. She had a bucket in her hand. "I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you two to leave." We'd been laughing and having a lot of fun, so I assumed we were being too loud. The woman said, "No, honey, we're closing." Looking around, I saw that we were the only 2 customers left. Where did 50 or 60 college kids go? And how did we not notice the quiet? Out the window, I could see it was dark and raining. We must have talked for hours, and we obviously only looked at each other the whole time. We gathered our stuff to leave. Gino said to me, "It's raining. Give me your keys and I'll bring your car around." Was this his game? Was this man gonna steal my car after all this? I was being paranoid. And besides, my car was insured. But then, would insurance cover a stolen car if I literally handed the thief my keys? We'd see. I dropped the keys in his hands. A minute later, he pulled up in front with my car. He held the driver's door open for me. I ducked inside, but I didn't drive away. I wasn't sure what to do next. It felt like I was leaving a friend. I'd never spoken so freely on a first date, but then again, I couldn't even call this a date. He leaned down. I hugged him. We said pleasant goodbyes, but didn't exchange any contact information. I told him my first name, my job, but not my phone number or address. He closed my door. I drove away. A few minutes later, I was sitting at a red light when a small red sports car with tinted windows and duals pulled up beside me. 2 toots from the horn, and then it was gone. I drove my little happy self home. I'd had a fun evening, but I didn't think anything else of it. The next day, I was at work. It was a Friday and Super Bowl weekend. My assistant buzzed me to say I had a call. The second I heard hello and that New York Italian accent, I knew it was him. "Hi, Gino," he said. "I want to ask you something." "What?" He said, "My situation's a little different when it comes to dating." Oh boy, here we go. The games are starting. He said, "I know what you're thinking, and that's not it." Okay. "I work upstate. I fly to work every week. I fly back home on Thursdays and work from home on Friday. I fly back up north during the dark on Monday mornings." Why is he telling me this? Okay. "Well, can you see how difficult it is for me to date?" I admitted I saw the challenge in this situation. He lived in North Carolina but worked upstate with only 2 days to spend on dating. Not every woman would be open to that. As I was considering this, he asked me his question. "What are you doing for the Super Bowl?" Probably going to a restaurant and watching it with some friends." He said, "Would you like to watch it with me?" Smooth. I said, "Yes. What restaurant would you like to meet at?" "No, at my house." I don't think so. He started to make his case, saying he understands that it's weird. I immediately corrected him. It's not just weird, it's unsafe. I don't know you. And then, to make my point very clear that I wasn't going to a stranger's house, I said, "The only way I'd come is if I had your full name, your birth date, your social security number, and your driver's license number." Without missing a beat, this man said, "Okay." Wait, what? This man literally gave me all of his personal information over the phone. I wrote it down and told him I'd call him back. I used to be a police officer, so I called in a favor at my old precinct. An hour later, I received a fax. Gino was a really upstanding, intelligent guy with a lot of good stuff going on. I called him back, as promised, and I did tell him I'd run a background check. He was fine with that. He said he'd pick me up after work that same day, not on Sunday, when the Super Bowl was airing. So he was planning for me to spend the weekend. Okay, I could do that, and nothing was going to happen. When we arrived at his house, he showed me one half of the house and said, "You can pick any suite on that side that you like. I'll be on the other side. When you settle in, meet me in the kitchen. I made us dinner." We ate a delicious dinner and talked. Again, we had easy, comfortable conversation. After dinner, he filled the dishwasher and went to bed. That was different. Okay, I went to the south wing or whatever. I sat alone on a bed that felt miles away from where he was, and it was dark. I texted him, "You need to come and get me because I'm scared and this is weird." He came for me. I crawled into his big bed and put a body pillow between us. I was wearing a onesie. It covered me from head to toe with one zipper in the front. My feet were enclosed. It had images of Eeyore, the donkey from Winnie the Pooh, all over it. Gino couldn't stop laughing. A few minutes later, I fell asleep. The next morning, he made us breakfast, and then we left the house and went on adventures all weekend until it was time for the Super Bowl. We settled in to watch the game, and in the fourth quarter, which was running late, I noticed Gino was packing a luggage. "What are you doing?" He said, "I have a flight in a few hours." So I assumed I needed to get my stuff together to leave. He corrected me. No, you can relax. Sleep here tonight. I left you a card on the dresser with all the security information for the house, along with the keys to one of my cars. Just lock up everything when you leave. You'll be fine." He flew out in a few hours and left me in his house. That week, he called or texted me every morning just to connect. The next weekend, he asked me to come over again. I did, and I made him dinner. That was the beginning for us. 8 months later, he proposed, and of course, I said yes. I love that he was attentive and he pursued me. Men these days, they want to be pursued. I'm not doing that. I was 43 when I met Gino, and I'd stopped dating because I'd met so many immature, arrogant men. I was married twice before Gino. In my first marriage, I was only 21. That husband cheated on me, but we stayed married for 11 years. My second marriage lasted 10 years. I've been married most of my adult life, but I never had anyone like Gino. He doesn't cheat. He's a family man. He's a leader. He's a provider. I don't have to work the way I did for most of my life. I can pursue things that I enjoy, like my podcast and hosting on Airbnb. I don't have to pay any bills. In 12 years, I've never even seen a water bill. He is taking care of everything. I think the true difference is Gino is a caring, compassionate Christian man with Christian values. That aligns with my faith perfectly. Everything I've wanted in a relationship, I've found it. Our cultural differences don't matter to us. Sometimes he doesn't notice racist attitudes or gestures towards me because he doesn't expect people to act like that. Being a Black woman in America, I pick up on the small cues and microaggressions. But when Gino realizes something has upset me, he calls it out. He's amazing. Really, my only regret is that I didn't meet him in my 20s. I think we would have had 15 children and we would be celebrating our 40th anniversary. I would advise other women who want to be in a loving, amazing relationship to make sure you're not settling. Never settle. I love their story. Isn't it wonderful? Carol gives more advice that is directly tied to her faith that may or may not apply to all of us, but you can read it in the book. Wow. I just love that story. As usual, please leave a comment or a review on this episode. I love hearing from you. Also, let me know if you think I should do an audio version of the book. I'm still considering that. Obviously, I'll need to practice some more. But if this episode was inspiring and entertaining for you, please consider sponsoring this podcast or giving a one-time gift to allow me more time to interview and create quality content weekly. Look in the show notes for details. See you next week. And as always, love will find you.